Something I'm really loving lately is all of the run coaches that I follow or just run influencers talking about their own eating disorder journey and how, of course, once they healed their relationship with food and were able to fuel better, they had better results, they felt better running. They, maybe are running different distances or different paces, and all of that feels great. And I really, really love all of that positive influencing that is going on. And I think that it is important to know that everyone's eating disorder journey is different. And what I would love to see is people talking more about their journey. Did they go to therapy? Did they get treatment? Did they take years off of their sport? How did that happen? So as an eating disorder psychotherapist who specializes with athletes, I'm here to tell you everyone's journey is different. It takes a different amount of time. It requires a different sort of relationship to one's sport, depending on a variety of factors. Someone who was restricting and binging is going to have a very different experience than someone who had binge eating disorder, or someone who was restricted but never binged, or was restrictive but didn't restrict intra fueling, right? Like there's so many variables. So if you are being positively influenced, but you feel like it is really difficult to connect those dots from how to get to one place to the next, here's a few things I want to say. If you are tracking macros, stop. We have to connect with our bodies to know what we need, where the deficits are, and how we feel. And one thing about tracking macros, even if you feel like tracking macros actually allows you to eat more variety of food, for many people it does, it still takes the focus outside of your body and either into an app or into some calculation that doesn't account for how you're feeling. So tracking macros is really tough. And I also think it often is really restrictive, even if at first, like I said, I know it broadens the horizon for a lot of people. Like maybe you weren't eating fats and then you decided, I'm going to use some app to tell me what I need to eat. And it says I can eat fats, and now I'm eating fats. Great. But also, are you eating to fullness? Are you eating when you're hungry? Are you eating enough? And do you even know what you want to be eating if we're outsourcing all of that to a calculation, an app, something that's dictating other than how we feel? So that's one thing that I think people really should focus on, is the going away from tracking, which can be a lot of anxiety. I do suggest this is when you work with a therapist and a dietitian, or one or the other if you don't have access to both, to work with how it feels, what you feel you need. A lot of times there's a lot of guilt associated with eating more, and it's really important to go introspectively instead of outside of yourself. So we need to be not tracking, but we need to be talking about how difficult of a transition that is. The other thing is, I think that binging happens a lot and athletes don't talk about that. We know there's so many run influencers talking about how they used to restrict and now they eat enough, but I don't see a lot of people talking about how they used to binge, which is more common than you might think. And also people feel more ashamed about that than they often do about restricting. And if you are binging, that also disrupts your ability to perform, to feel good, to sleep. It really can mess with you digestively. And so that's a different process. And unfortunately, if you're not being, if you're not talking about it, you might not know there are solutions. And there are, I promise you, that you don't have to binge. And if you are someone who restricts and then you find yourself binging, that's also hard because you're stuck in a cycle. So I just want to say, as much as I love all of the run influencers, I wish people were talking about how they got from point A to fueling with all of their carbohydrates and protein and whatever. So if you're binging, I want to give you permission to just eat to your fullness. It's okay to eat all of the foods, and it's okay to eat them in moderation. It's okay to fail while trying to figure out what that looks like. But to stop binging, it also requires that we be in touch with our body. And a lot of times people who binge are not, because it becomes kind of a numbing experience, a dissociated experience, and we're not in touch with how our body feels. And then often we feel like total trash afterwards. So one thing I would encourage people to do is do mindfulness exercises in the middle if you can. Like if you are binging on cereal, you're someone who really likes cereal, try and just get in touch with a little bit of, how do I feel in my chest? How do I feel in my stomach? Am I hungry? You might actually be hungry. Am I binging, or am I hungry and just eating more than I'm comfortable eating? Because that's also something that might need some help, is eating enough to make sure you're comfortable. So I just want to say, follow all of the positive eating disorder informed run coaches, run influencers, fitness influencers, but also know that you probably need some help on your journey. I have a body image for runners class, which touches a little bit on how to work on your body image in order to eat more. I have some free journal downloads, but most importantly, I want to offer my support in that you should not feel ashamed if you're still restricting. And even if you're just restricting outside of your long runs, you're still restricting and not eating enough. And if you're binging, know that you're not alone, and that you can talk about it, and that it is possible to heal.